everyone. My name is Cherie Milton, and I'm one of the Agrace hospice counselors. It's my privilege today to have a conversation with Wendy. We want to talk a little bit about how to talk to that patient, that loved one, at the end of life.
Hi, and my name is Wendy Krebs Peterson. My husband Keith and I were served by Agrace as hospice at home patients back in August of 2014 when my husband Keith died.
Wendy, was this an issue for you and for Keith? People coming and how to talk to him and what to say?
Yeah, sure it was. We found it was difficult. We had a lot of people coming to our house, and we found very quickly that people were very uncomfortable and didn't know what to say.
Sure, that would
Or
make
how to
sense.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's pretty common.
Mm-hmm.
I know that one of the things that we recommend is that even if we don't have the perfect words, we say something. That we acknowledge the situation rather than avoid it and just talk on the surface. What does that bring to mind for you?
Well, we noticed right away that the first couple of people who came to the house were very uncomfortable. We were fortunate in that my husband was able to communicate and very well, and people were very uptight and wanted to talk about the weather, and I learned quickly that I had to say to people, look, you need to acknowledge what's happening here. Keith knows he's dying. He's accepted the fact that he's dying, and he wants you here for a reason, because he wants to say goodbye.
That's a very powerful communication to give those visitors and other loved ones. And I would agree. I think it's so important to acknowledge what's going on. One of the ways that can be helpful to begin a conversation, especially for those that feel that anxiety of the circumstances, is to simply begin by sharing a memory. Tell a story. Be able to say, oh my goodness, one of my best memories with you is, and that can kind of begin that conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Ira Byock, he's written a book called The 4 Things That Matter Most. And he gives some really great suggestions on what he believes is very important to actually say, to verbalize when someone is dying. Wondering about talking that through with you.
Oh, that'd be terrific. Suggestions are fantastic.
Well, of course, it's no surprise. The first thing he recommends is to tell people that we love them. To say the words, I love you.
See, now that's something that's so simple, and it seems like, of course, I would say that, but as things get hectic and busy and caregiving gets in the way, that's something that could easily get overlooked.
You remind me of such a good point. So often as the caregivers, you are the loved ones, you are the family, and you can get so busy with the daily tasks that have to be done. It's so important that you take care of you so that you have energy for these conversations. And that can be a real tricky thing.
Mm-hmm. I agree. And I think most caregivers would agree with you too. You're trying to make every last minute, every last hour, every last moment count so much for your loved one that you get wrapped up in the day-to-day, and it's hard to take care of yourself.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
Well, related to that, Dr. Byock recommends that we tell people thank you, that we tell that loved one thank you. Thank you for who you are. Thank you for what you've meant to me. Thank you for the kind of husband, father, friend, that expressing that gratitude and that appreciation. And then I think that you had a great idea that goes along with us saying thank you.
It was interesting to me that you say that, because it was very important for Keith to say thank you back. Mm-hmm. We found that as somebody would say thank you to him, it was so important for him to be able to express back how thankful he was for what was happening around him.
Sure. They've experienced a lot of support, a lot of care, and then they get that opportunity to thank us back.
Yes.
I think Dr. Byock needs to add that.
Yes.
The 4th thing, or the 3rd thing, I guess, that he recommended is that we ask for forgiveness of that person. And that is a little bit more intense.
Yes.
At least it can be.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the time in our relationships with those people that we care so much about, there's been some bumps along the way. And it can be a very powerful healing thing to ask for their forgiveness. And I often recommend to families, don't go into great detail. We don't need to rehash all the offenses and hurts of the past. But just a simple phrase of, please forgive me. And with that is the companion. The fourth thing he recommends is that we express to them, and I forgive you. And again, that can be a little bit difficult. Sometimes people are afraid if we say, I forgive you, they're going to look at us wide-eyed and say, for what? But most of the time, that doesn't happen. Because again, it acknowledges that every relationship has its times where there have been hurts, and it's very, very powerful to let that person know, I forgive you.
I can see how that would be very cleansing for everybody.
Yes, very much. Dr. Bayok added a fifth one. Any guesses as to what that might be?
Goodbye.
Absolutely. The actual word of goodbye.
Another simple thing that's so easy to forget.
Yes. Sometimes we're with our loved one every moment. We are right there at their bedside.
Yeah.
And we don't think about leaving and saying goodbye because we assume we're going to come right back. And I would say that many family members, after that death has happened, they have great regret in not verbalizing those words. Whether they were leaving to just get something to eat, or they were leaving and would not be back at all, but to really verbalize and communicate to that patient goodbye.
Yes.
Brings a sense of closure. Hard.
Very hard.
Very, very hard.
But very important.
That's right. Very important. I know that for those who are watching, this is a powerful resource, along with other resources on the agrace.org website under our caregiver page. I know that we can't always address every single situation, but certainly there's a lot that is in common. And so it's really been a privilege to offer this in the hopes it's going to help somebody.
And I would encourage everybody who's had the pleasure or the ability to work with and be with Agrace after the death in the family has happened to utilize all the resources that are available after death, because there are many available. And
Absolutely.
it's a very caring and loving community.
Thank you, Wendy.
Thank you, Shirley.